Hey folks, it's JD here, and today we've got this. This is the F504 and I'm really quite looking forward to taking this up. This is quite a cheap and cheerful quadcopter, but it does come with a few little gadgets, like a little camera on the underside. That's pretty much every gadget it comes with, but it does come with a lot of accessories. It is at a very nice price point, coming in at about £25, which to be honest isn't bad, especially for a little camera drone as well. So I'm really quite looking forward to taking this up and seeing exactly what this can do. So a couple of things just to mention. Now, one of them is this, the battery bay. So it took me a little while to figure it out, I must admit, but there's a little notch out of the battery. So what you need to do is, when you put the battery in, the notch has to be at the bottom side so that the cable fits underneath the battery. It's pretty horrible, but that is the only way that I have found to put the battery in and to secure it and close the door. So just bear that in mind should you once again buy this or find yourself with it and want to put the battery in to take her out for a flight. Okay, so what I've done already, as we saw in the unboxing video, but for any of you that didn't watch it, I've put the SD card in there. It's only a 1 gig SD card, it came with it, so I'm guessing it's all pre-formatted and ready to go. So we're going to just turn on the video right away and we're just going to start recording. As for the lens, because the lens is totally maneuverable, I have left the lens just pointing straight, so that should be good enough just to get enough around here rather than looking directly at the tarmac like I have for quite a few of my other FPV videos. So I'm going to just be looking around over here and straight ahead, so that should also give us quite a nice little bit of video as well. Okay, one final thing as well. I haven't been mentioning this on camera, but it's always important. I've just gone through the pre-flight checks again. Now, I haven't put on these propellers, but I have made sure that they are all nice and sturdy. But also, it's just as important, because these sprigs, these landing sprigs, don't screw in. It's ever so important to remember that just push them in, just to ensure that they are in as much as they go. So when it comes down, it doesn't, the landing sprig doesn't fall off and the drone doesn't damage itself. All right, now let's take her up. Okay, so we have a little on and off button here, so I'm just going to flick that. We've got blue LEDs in the front, red LEDs in the back. We've got a ready light on the camera as well. So let's grab the transmitter. Let's centralize all the buttons and everything. Let's turn on. Once up, once down to bind. Now the little indicator light will stop flashing and go solid. Should be the same for these LEDs. Yep, exactly the same for these LEDs as well. Alright, let's just put these two analog sticks in just to calibrate the gyros, just in case they weren't done, or just in case me carrying it to this place has actually affected it. I got a couple of corrections to make before we go any further that I made in the unboxing. This is the 360 flip, this isn't video, and this is where you turn on your video here, and these two are your trim buttons. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to push up for 2 seconds. That should now start the video. There should be another light. Oh, or not. Ah, there we go. It's push down, not push up. And then you get a little red LED there just to let you know that it's recording. And also the 4 LEDs on the quadcopter flash as well. That's always quite handy. Alright. So, wow, she's very shaky. The body of the quadcopter actually shakes. That is pretty special. I've not seen that before. Okay, so up we go, off we go. So far, it's okay. I don't know how well you can see, but probably not very well. I'll see if I can slow down this footage a little bit. But the body of the quadcopter is actually shaking. That in itself is quite special. Alright, well, she seems to be flying pretty well. Motors are quite loud. Not really a fan. But she seems to be holding her own up in the air. I think these motors are a little bit underpowered as well. If I try and give her enough power for her to just take off and to carry on at her altitude, see? She drops. But more so, she's not terrible. I mean, she is flying. I want to see what this camera footage is like. I'm not holding out much hope of it being actually, you know, fully HD or anything like that. but at the same time, it might be okay. Okay, let's try some 3D flips. Oh wow, that handled really well. That handled really well. Let's try it again. Let's bring it a bit closer to me. Haha! She writes really well after it as well. She's not excellent. She is a budget quadcopter with a camera, and to be honest with you, that is, you know, good enough reason to buy her anyway. But the flight isn't excellent. I must admit, I've seen a lot of quadcopters recently where the flight has been absolutely impeccable, or near as damn it. And this one, the flight isn't very good. Isn't very good at all, because I don't have a lot of confidence in the quadcopter because the body is shaking. The motors are vibrating that much that the body of the quadcopter is actually shaking. But that being said, she is flying really well in this controlled environment. Okay, let's bring her down. Right, so I'm going to try and make this battery last a little bit longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock off this video. So if I press and hold down, there we go. So that red LED now has now gone off. So what we'll do is we'll take her up again. She pushes to one side, and I have got quite a bit of trim on here, and still it seems to be not making any difference whatsoever. But still, I mean, she's got loud motors. Yeah, not a fan. She corners really well. She doesn't fly that well in a straight line. She does want to pull to the right a little bit. So, and that's even with the maximum amount of trim that I can use. The body of the quadcopter is still shaking, I notice, as she comes really quite close to me. A little bit less than what it was when she first took off. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to bring her back in. I'm going to try and calibrate these motors again and see if it makes any difference at all, because I want to try and see if I can fly this in the best possible way. So which way is she facing now? She's facing me. Right, so let's bring these two in for a couple of seconds. If that doesn't work, let's bring them out as well. Sometimes that's another way to calibrate it. Gyros on a quadcopter. Obviously it does depend on the quadcopter, but it does look as if there's a little bit of latency when that last motor kicks in. It is about a couple of milliseconds behind the other three. Okay, let's keep on going then anyway. She's flying alright for this test, to be honest with you. So, I mean, the LEDs are nice and bright, that's one good thing, and I can see them at a distance when they reflect off the landing sprigs. So that's something I'm quite happy for, to be honest, because I can see which way she's facing. She rights herself really well, as you just saw there. If you manage to go down a little bit too much on the throttle, then the motors do kick out, but you can add a little bit of power and she will automatically then just take straight back up in the air because she's light enough, see? 3D flips work really well. I would say that is most probably, obviously without looking at the camera footage at this point, I would say that is probably the best feature of this quadcopter for the minute, because the flips are so stable. And even after the flip, she doesn't want to pull in any direction. So if we try and do another flip backwards, let's see, again, really good. Oh, those lights are flashing. The universal sign that the battery is getting really quite low. That's a bit of a shame. I'll tell you what I'm going to do with this one, folks. I'm going to fly this until it runs out. Or until she becomes too unresponsive. But so far, transmitter range, we're looking at a pretty good transmitter range. I'm pretty happy that I've actually been able to get... Oh, and that's it, actually. She's got absolutely no power whatsoever to take back off. So I'm pretty much sure that that is everything. But as I was going to say, transmitter range. I'm pretty happy with the range of transmitter. I can get all the way down to the bottom, and that's pretty much all I ask. I don't ask to do any further because I want to be able to be within a certain reach of my quadcopter, and going down to the bottom, just to that fence there, that is pretty good range. Alright then, so I tell you what, I'm going to stop waffling for the second. Let's go and get a verdict on this guy. Okay, so this is the £25 budget copter. What do I think? Well, when she takes off, she pulls a little bit, so she pulls a little bit to the left, so I added quite a bit of trim, and she still pulls to the left. When I landed her and I took back off, I noticed that this motor here has got a couple of seconds latency. It doesn't spin up as early as all the rest of them, so that's pretty much why it's pulling. As soon as this motor kicks in, it stops pulling and it carries on flying. Now that could be disastrous. This could mean that there is a issue with the motor. It could mean that there's an issue with the wiring, in so much that the connection isn't getting directly through to the board to actually turn the motor on and to fly her. It could be anything, or it could just be that it's a sticky motor. So I'll have a little look. I'll see if I can take this apart and see if I can repair that motor and see if we can get it to all four kick in at exactly the same time. Cornering, really happy with cornering. Cornering was really good. She spun around without any issues, came back to me, and I spun around again. She doesn't need that much of an arc in order to corner, which again is always a plus. Camera, well, the camera has recorded. We had the little LED, and then we turned off the camera a little way into the video, just so I didn't want the battery to be totally depleted by using that camera. I don't know about the footage for the second, but obviously at this point, if you're hearing my voice now, you've obviously seen the footage. I hope it's actually, I hope it's okay. I hope it's okay. That's pretty much all I hope for it, is that I hope you can see an image. So other than that, the whole quadcopter experience was pretty good. Transmitter range was pretty good. Managed to get down to the fence line there, and that's pretty much all I ask. I do like to have my quadcopters stay a little bit close to me, so that if anything, God forbid, was to go wrong, I can at least get to them. And yeah, I got to be honest, that is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So it is, at least from this line, so at least 3/4. Yeah, 3/4 down to of a basketball court. So again, I'm pretty happy with that. As for the landing sprigs, they held up really well. They haven't started to come undone. That in itself is pretty good. She landed really well as well. She did bounce a little bit, but I think that was me on the throttle more than the quadcopter. Other than that, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. Would I recommend it? I don't know, because I haven't had a successful flight without adding a load of trim or keeping my thumb on the right side so that she pulls a little bit to stabilize herself. What I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can fix this motor, and I'm going to take her out again. For this particular moment, though, I would say that there are other quadcopters a little bit more expensive than this that fly a little bit better, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one just yet. But it doesn't mean that it's a total negative. I'm going to see if I can fix this motor, and we're going to see if we can bring it back out and then do another revisit in a couple of weeks. Alright then, folks, well, I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks ever so much for watching. I've been JD, you've been fantastic as always. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying the channel. So until next time, my friends, happy flying.